Good morning, Year 9. So, how this is going to work today is I'm talking over a PowerPoint presentation. This is a pre-recorded lesson, and we are going to work together through this PowerPoint, and it will help you fill in the worksheet that is up on Go for Schools. So if you haven't already, please make sure that you have downloaded that, and then you can work through this whilst watching the video. And I will tell you the instructions for tasks, and you can pause whenever you need to. So what we're looking at today is we're carrying on with the topic, which is looking at Christian beliefs about marriage and the family. And today we're focusing on how local churches support their families in their local parish. So the first task I'd like you to do, you'll do it now task, there's space for this on your worksheet. Can you think of any ways that churches support families off the top of your head? Perhaps you've had an experience or you know of experiences in churches. How do you think that they support families? So by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to explain how and why the local church community try to support families. So you're going to be able to give some different examples, but also why they think it is important to support their families. So, just an introduction for you. Jesus loved children. He loved helping children and interacting with children. And this is the reason, therefore, why churches see children as having an important position in their community. And they try to help parents raise their children in a stable Christian environment. If you remember from last week, where we looked at families and the traditional role and how they think families should be established, this all ties together in their thinking. So your first task is to have a look at this picture, which I'm sure we've all come across outside different churches. You can see different events and different services that they list. Now, what I'd like you to do is try and figure out what events can you see listed on this board. What ones do you recognise? What services do you think that they do? Try and find 3 on the board and write that on your worksheet. You are going to have a handout that you're going to read later on in this lesson that will go over some of these in a bit more detail. But there are several ways alongside, in a bit more detail, that the church sign demonstrates. There are several ways in which churches help to support families by the services that they run there. This is baptisms, reaffirmation of baptism, so that's when you're older that happens. Sunday schools, which is sort of supplementing education. Youth groups, church or faith schools, family services in church on Sundays, special services at Easter and Christmas, such as Midnight Mass, helping to run Scouts and Brownies, counselling, Catholic Marriage Advisory Council, or the Child Welfare Council. I'd like you to make a note of 5 of these, please, so that you have a good range of examples that you could talk about, and that's going to help you for your next task. So there is space on your worksheet for you to list down 5 of those ways that churches help to support families. Okay, so following on from that last slide, you're now going to try and do a sample exam style question for me, please. You have all experienced this question in your last assessment, but the important thing to remember from our feedback is that there is a certain way to do this question in order to get the 3 marks, and that is by writing in full sentences. So I've put some sentence starters up there for you, and that just means that you say one way the local church supports parents is, a second way the local church supports parents is, and then a third way. So you are outlining 3 ways that the local church supports parents, but you have to do that in full sentences rather than just listing them for me, please. So you can pause the video here, give yourself about 3 minutes to do that task, and then we will move on. Again, there is space on your worksheet to do this. Next, we are going to look at something called a rite of passage. Now, this is something really important that churches offer to their members. So what we're going to do first of all is watch a short video, and I want you to try and come up with your own definition of a rite of passage. So from watching this short video, can you try and come up with a definition for me, please, of a rite of passage? See if you can work out what it is that it means.
and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
By giving and receiving of rings, I therefore proclaim that they are husbands and wife.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. From the ground we came, and to the ground we will all return.
Hopefully now you have a definition. We're just going to talk through what it is and explain some key points that were mentioned in that video. So rites of passage, this means special events that show a person is moving on to a new stage in their life, and they are helped by churches in order to support families. So rites of passage celebrate key points in a person's life. They include occasions such as birth or marriage. The church recognises the importance of celebrating these events as a family. Relatives and friends may attend baptism or marriage ceremonies, as well as members of the wider church community. So on the screen here you have some examples of rites of passage. What I would like you to do, please, is write down 3 of these examples on your worksheet. So we have baptism, chrismation, first communion, confirmation, adult baptism, marriage, prayer for dying, death, and funerals. These are all different rites of passage. Alongside these different rites of passage, there are all sorts of events that churches put on. To give you some examples, there are things such as pet blessing services. So this is really so that everyone can get involved in this environment. Then we have things like messy church, which is just appealing to people that just want to have a bit more fun. So craft, games, fun, stories. There's kids clubs where there's food, there's music, Bible stories. It can be young children to young adults. You can bring your kids along with you. You can mix with other members of the community. That's just some examples, but it really is an inclusive offer of services. Now, something really important to remember about the role of the church in supporting families is that Christians believe that family provides stability. So children can be brought up in the right moral and social way. So all of these different ways of helping families, from organising family events, counselling, providing a space for marriage services to happen, etc., a place for worship, Christian teaching. This is all so that they can teach children to be brought up in the right moral and social way. So what I'd like you to do, please, you can pause the video in a moment and you're going to read the handout attachment on Go for Schools. Now on that attachment you've got some information, a little bit more detail about some of those services. What I'd like you to do, please, is pick one of those statements below and tell me why you agree or disagree with it. So for instance, without children, the church has no relevance in society. Now, that statement essentially is saying that the church is just for children. So if children didn't exist, then the church wouldn't be relevant to people. Now you can consider, does the church just offer services for children, or does it provide services for adults, etc.? The second statement says the church should include children and young people much more. Do you agree or disagree with that? Do you think there aren't enough services for young children? Christianity is fine for families with children, but they will grow out of it when they are older. So essentially that statement is saying that Christianity kind of serves children when they're young, and it teaches them and provides a space for them, but when they're older they may grow out of it. Now again, you can consider that Christians believe that children have to be brought up in the right moral and social way, so you can think about how long-standing these values and things are going to be. Do you think that people would grow out of it when they're older, or do you think that it is the right way to instill these beliefs? So pause the video, have a read through the handout, and then pick one of those statements. You can do more than one if you so choose, but pick one of those statements and tell me why you agree or disagree with them. Your last task today is to complete the Microsoft Forms quiz as you have for previous lessons. This quiz is just a quick one to show your understanding of today's task. Now, please do be careful on the Microsoft Forms quiz. They are case sensitive, so with regards to capital letters and that kind of thing. But I will obviously, if you've missed out a capital letter, it might tell you that you've got the answer wrong, but I will obviously double check them and be able to make sure that you were along the right lines. But it is really important that you engage with this quiz. It helps to let me know that you have engaged fully with the lesson, as there are several questions on there that are from all aspects of the lesson. And then afterwards, make sure please to email your worksheet to your class teacher. If you are in 9M and 9P, you can email that to myself. And on Go for Schools, if you are in Q, R or S, you can see your class teacher up on Go for Schools.